Mexico is a huge country. It has more than 20 cities. Mexico is very cool. It has a lot of pyramids, but it has a bad side. It is very poor. Mexico is a pretty big country. They usually immigrate through Texas, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico. They usually get caught at the border, and sometimes they'll swim across to Baja California. In Mexico, they ride in cultures. First, they have one part of their family with a passport that is able to come. It's called a visa. Then they'd hide in their suitcases or something else. Then they put it in there. Then they'd go across the border, and they'd come in for looking for a new life. In Mexico, they'd come and hide under the. They'd try to sneak in first of all. Then they'd try to hide underneath the seat when they try to come to ask their tickets. Then, when they get across the border, they'll have another train waiting for them, or they'll have somebody waiting there for them to pick them up. Then, if they didn't have nobody waiting, then take another train. They usually take a horse around all the police, and sometimes there were places that didn't have gates to block for Mexican immigrants. Then, after they take the horse, they'd sell it, or if they're really starving, then they'll eat it, cut it up, and cook it. Then, when they get across the border, they look for some gold at the border because there's legends saying that there's tons and tons of gold waiting under the gates. Sometimes, if you're rich enough in Mexico, you can afford someone called a coyote. They take you across the border. They're kind of like a smuggler. Smuggler is someone that hides stuff and takes it across the border. Although there was coyotes, they sometimes get taken away or they'd get sick or die in the middle of nowhere. Then you're left alone. So if you were coming across the border, it was better off coming by yourself. It was very hard to get across the border in a plane. The only way is if you had your own private plane and if it was one of those regular biplanes. But if it was a jumbo jet, you'd have a hard time landing in the middle of the field. Because in the middle of the field, there is no immigration there waiting for you to get off the plane and checking your passports. So it was very hard to get off a plane and not get caught. Americans have their own way of defending the border. They usually have something called the Predator. It is a remote controlled plane that can have a camera on it and it looks across the field. Then if they see something, they report it by walkie-talkie or radio, or they sometimes write it down and email it. Then they go to the place, they'll have some immigration people go in cars and jeeps and go pick them up and take them back to Mexico their own way. Mexicans had their own struggles. They died of starvation, or they just get caught and taken back to their regular city. If they had a chance and made it across, then they look for a job, a life, and a family. And that's my immigration report on Mexico. Thank you. Bye, Antonio Ramirez.